Okay, so I added some things to the um agenda issue. So it was part of the stuff that was discussed in the last office hours. So I just added like two talking points. The first one is about the possibility of um cleaning up the repo and for it to be like a proposal first. So Guan proposed this talking point. So I mentioned that I am going to bring it up in the next um, community meeting to get more views, especially from someone from TSC team. And the second point here is about improving the test suite, which was also proposed by Gohan. So yeah, and as we have Jason on call today, so maybe we can also talk about that today.
Yeah, I mean, let me kickstart a bit, and I'll also give a bit more context. So this was, by the way, Jason, on the office hours before. We had a bit of an interesting chat with many of the people that joined, mainly because of GSOC. So we were actively asking people, what are some of the barriers that they've seen when trying to contribute and make sense of JSON schema, and some of the main, I guess, like tooling problems out there that would require some work. And I think the first one that we ended up discussing quite a bunch, which I think, I mean, you heard before, it was this plan to try to like trim down some of the stuff that we have, right, that we no longer maintain. And or reduce the complexity of some of the things that we maintain. Like, for example, I think even on the JSON schema org, we have like 3 or 4 repos that could, in theory, be just like one website one, right? And potentially simplified, like as an UGO static website or whatever. So I think the first one is mostly about that. It's, can we try to make that a bit more concrete? And maybe what needs to be done, it's like at least of a proposal on how some of these things could be done in a more like actionable form. Like, for example, what are some of the repos that are definitely seem to be completely dead, and we might as well archive them or move them into like a separate graveyard org or whatever, just so that when somebody comes to JSON schema, on the org, and that was one of the things that we discussed back then, somebody comes and takes a look at the org and they see a lot of stuff, and it turns out like half of those like don't matter anymore, and like nobody's looking at them, and it's misleading, right? So maybe, yeah, like getting like a more concrete plan. It's like, okay, hey, these ones we can totally get rid of. This one maybe just can be merged into this one, right? Or just simplifying the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think the difficult part is getting somebody to take ownership of that project and make things happen.
Yeah. So maybe what I'm gonna do is open a proposal then, like an issue, like surveying maybe like the 24 repos that we have, and at least from my understanding, what is that actually matters, and at least some basic game plan on that. And at least we can see if that makes sense or not, because again, I might only see like one side of the coin. But I think if we at least have a plan on how to get that done, that's also something that would be very interesting to get some people involved on. I think a lot of these are like more simpler tasks that some of the people excited to contribute to the org might be willing to take over, if we have at least a plan, which we're missing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't have the capacity right now to go through that stuff and figure out what's still needed and what's not, and what we can trim down. But
Yeah, I'll do that though. See if I can get that done tomorrow, and at least that will be a proposal, and you can take a look at that, and then maybe we can circulate it with other people in the org and just see if we all reach into agreement. And then yeah, we'll see how to get it done.
yeah, sounds good.
And the other topic that I had, which also came out of that, right? It's like people asking questions. It's is the fact that well, I don't know what you think. I think you might probably agree, but I think the JSON schema test suite that we have, I think it does a good job at covering quite a bunch of stuff, but it's also not like incredibly comprehensive, right? I think in many cases you can get an implementation that passes 100% that test suite, and it would still have like a significant number of problems in terms of compliance and in actually failing, with a lot of schemas. I think it would be very nice to have a plan, and I think that touches maybe on you as well now with the rework that you're doing in the test suite. Like now that I think more people are understanding JSON schema a bit better, how can we slowly start raising the bar, right, for the test suite, and how we can cover more things and things that are common across implementations. And just as a more concrete example, I was surveying a new JavaScript implementation that came around recently, which is pretty cool. Is this ATA one? I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's like an AJV kind of thing. So it does like the AJV coaching kind of stuff, but supposedly more compliant, right? And slightly faster in some cases. But for example, that one, they almost pass 100% of the test suite. I think they claim to pass 98. I think they still have some issues. But for example, even at 98, I was throwing it at some of my own test suites and benchmarks, and it would just crash and fail at like half of the schemas that I have on my stuff, right? Which I think that's probably what we want to get into as like the next level of like compliance checking. I think we did a good job with, for example, Bautai and the JSON schema test suite, but how do we make it cover reality more, right? Again, I think that was a perfect example of something passing close to 100% and it's still failing a lot of real world schemas that I had that I tested at.
So, do you think it's failing because of some behavior, or because like it's running out of memory, like kind of thing?
No, behavioral, it seems like the true false kind of thing, it differs. And the thing is that I mean, you like again, like we don't cover every single thing. Even for example, on my implementation with Blaze, I have like 40,000 lines of unit tests or something like that on top of the test suite, right? Just to cover all sorts of crazy things. And I keep encountering some of them every now and then, or somebody reporting them in one of my reviews. Hey, this doesn't make sense. The validation is wrong, and it's actually wrong because of very subtle things. Which again, I mean, we can't test everything, but I think that would be another interesting one to do either throughout the year or maybe in the next GSOC or something like that. So, or at least keep starting thinking about how we can raise the bar, right?
Well, my impression was that the test suite was fairly well covered, has fairly good coverage. It's not very well designed. It's it's like a Frankenstein that's evolved over time. So like it it doesn't look like what I would build if I built something from scratch, but it gets the job done. There are certainly a couple of places where it's weak, like formats, but I'm surprised to hear that there'd be something like, I mean, if you're passing the test suite for most of the main stuff, other than like very trivial edge cases, like I'd be surprised to hear that something has very odd behavior for
and I think there is, right? I mean, surprisingly to me as well, right? But I think we have some cases of that, and that's what it would be very interesting. For example, and I guess this is something that other people could get involved at, like if you like this, take the format assertion one, right? I think a lot of the people that have been submitting proposals to that did a good job at trying to find cases where they would see the most divergence across implementations, that clearly you can see that at least 2 or 3 implementations are not agreeing on something. I think that's an experiment mainly now with AI, that you can probably reveal a lot of cases on implementations themselves that you get different false true results. and maybe those are the ones that we can focus on for extending the test suite, like adding any test that we can indeed show with proof that at least one or two implementations get wrong. I think that might be a good game plan on that.
Yeah, and that's been part of the, I guess, part of the criteria that we consider when we accept a test. A lot of times, like somebody will say, like, "Oh, in this weird case, like there's my implementation failed," and like I look at it, and other people look at it and be like, "I have no idea how you possibly implemented that such that that fails, but the more general case doesn't." But if there's one implementation that that would have caught a bug for, then it's a good enough test. But
Yeah. Well, we
yeah.
can make that more clear, right? Because I think it makes sense, but like nobody else will get that, right? I think if we make it more clear and just like make this a very interesting initial contribution, I think a lot of people could very easily find a lot of cases where things get messy and submit a few test cases. I think that would be a great thing.
Because something that we got a lot was people submitting AI generated stuff, like that just like scanned the test suite and said like, here's something that's missing, and like it's really not.
Sure.
Or it's like, it's like, here's an edge case, that's not an edge case. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good thing, is direct them to go find an implementation where that
Popular
failed.
implementations, it like at least filters out like some weird implementation that nobody has ever heard of and that it fails in odd ways.
Yeah,
But I think maybe that, right? But I wonder where we can write that down. It's almost like a call for contributions, and the scope is extremely focused, which would be like if you find a test case where at least one popular implementation deviates,
yeah,
potentially more of them. If you find one and make it like a minimal case, we will be really interested in getting that into the test suite.
yeah. So, your test suite that you say was causing failures for this other implementation, is there stuff that you could share that you
Yeah, I
could
mean, it's all open
maybe?
source,
Well, yeah,
but
I
a
mean,
lot of that it's like bigger schemas, right?
right.
Because those are the ones, like for example, for my benchmark suite, I'm usually focusing on like some slightly monster schemas,
Mhm.
right? And they have like a ton of complexity and an extremely, recursive. So I'm usually collecting very pathological cases, but I think you could use those as inspiration and maybe again, like yourself with AI, try to like bring it down to what's a minimal example that triggers that, right? Because I mean that's why I collect those schemas. They're like weird. Um, but yeah, you can probably reduce them into something nice for the test suite. So yeah, anybody welcome to take a look.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
But where do we put these? I guess I think that would be my next question, and maybe it's also a question for the other people in the call as well, because you are also potential contributors. Like, where would you expect that you would see, hey, this is something that we care about, that you could just like jump in and help?
Personally, I would probably see it in the Slack channels, but like, I'm not sure. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think it would be great if more people were using the just because there's a test channel in Slack, and there's a contributing channel in Slack, and it's like, and I've done this a couple times when I had some things that I was like, hey, it'd be nice to have some help, and so I'll drop a a post in there that says, hey, I'm looking for help for this this PR or this issue.
Right.
I mean, it would
Yeah, I
be
think
nice
I'll
if
do that.
a lot of tooling operators did that as well.
Probably to general though, because I think, I mean, on the other channels, I think you will get lost. a lot, mainly with like I was not even aware there was a test channel, right? I would have to completely miss that.
Yeah, I wonder if we have too many channels in some cases, and maybe
Yeah, we do.
getting some of it down would help people.
There you go.
Right, find the ones that are more helpful, most helpful to them.
Think hi.
Hello,
What
hello.
I understood is talking about the test suite about complaints and some of the edge cases like as one mentioned about we can test it and mention some of the edge cases. This kind of idea I might not get, and maybe people like me might not get, but a simple trigger of sharing in the Slack channel, like I did it, and this is one of the edge case, can actually show me a clear direction. Okay, this is normally is done, so I can get into in this direction too. Hello.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I mean, what maybe helps on that is just like phrasing it very well, right? Potentially even having an issue with more context and then explaining that very well also on Slack. And
Yeah,
just,
and other part, like Jason mentioned about, when we try to find out edge cases, for example, let's say we have a vague statement like, okay, this is test suite and we need to find some of the edge cases there, and we tell to AI that, okay, find me some edge cases. So even though there are no edge cases, it will stick to your idea. It will just will not deny you. It will just say, okay, there might be some edge cases. It will, and when you say, I still do not find, it does not make sense, it will tell that, okay, it does not make sense, you are right. So
yeah,
Yeah.
but I
it
think, but in
doesn't
my
actually help.
experience, it can fast things pretty well, right? Like I've been using Claude a lot to fast my canonicalizer, which I mean, again, well, not validation per se, right? But just like doing some
That
fuzzing and then validating the canonical, the result against the canonical meta schema that I have, for example, and then some validation tests, and it can usually find some like really clever, things. I
the
mean, not
only
always,
difference is
but yeah,
uh, you know what you're doing, and if I don't know what I'm doing, then I might get lost with it.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but I think, I mean, there are guards that we can put, I think, in there. I don't think it's, yeah, I think you can drive it maybe with some guidance. We can try to put down the issue. But again, overall point, it was like I was interested in like raising the bar for the test suite.
Yeah.
Right. I think now
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we are more established and we have a lot more implementations, like I think we are in a position to demand more out of them, right? And like really make them work well.
Let's say, personally, take my example. Let's say that a very low level understanding of how JSON schema is from ground up, like you and Jason. From me, as a high level, that I know, like, this is happening there, this is happening there, I know high level. So the only point which I expect is, if I'm in a channel, like, if you give me a trigger, okay, this is how the edge case is handled, or this is how this is tested. If I get a simple example or blueprint of that, I can explore more options.
Right. Yeah, we can do, but I think, I mean, in the other hand, I think this is also a task that works well with higher level understanding, right? Because if you have two JSON schema libraries in your favorite programming languages, and they clearly for the same schema and data are telling you different answers,
Yeah.
right? You don't even need to like know much
Yeah.
more about JSON schema. It's like, okay, they are differing.
Yes.
I think Bowtie, there's a way that from the command line you can run, say like run this test against all the implementations, and
That would be nice.
and you can see if something comes up different, and that's something that you could probably automate through AI. Say find an edge case and now prove it by running it through Bowtie. And it could probably go through a lot of things and maybe something is an edge case, but like none of the implementation, like all the implementations handle that edge case, but like but in that case, like, is it really a useful test? Probably not.
Sure.
So, but at least that way, like, I mean, that's something I can see where like one is saying like it guides the AI in the right way to find a real issue.
Yeah, and it can, right? Again, like what I've done mainly with the canonicalizer is like I would run Cloud code on a sandbox and just let it go wild, on a loop for like 3-4 hours, right? Just like trying all sorts of stuff to see something segfaults or whatever, or something doesn't match the canonical meta schema that I give it. And if you give it enough time and just like burning a lot of credits, it can find some like really interesting ones. It's not a bad tool at all.
Yeah, I think the key is you gotta verify or have some way that it can be verified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best way, even if from your point of view, like you might find a lot of edge cases over there, and as if I were you, I would expect someone the like a contributor take up it, and people who actually get those edge cases can come and report, and they propose something like Zod does it. Zod, whenever something is missing, someone comes there, puts out that, and it is merged.
Yeah.
I didn't follow that. What was it that Zod does?
I think when I was going through what I looked out was uh, like if something is needed, like something is very not much abstract, like it is detail, something is missing, someone comes there and tells, okay, this needs to be implemented. They do not have like the stages, like you need to get there. We do have stages, right? Someone proposes something, after that it actually gets evaluated and then it's get to the production. But there they just propose the solution right there. Okay, this is missing, someone comes there and proposes and merges it like that. They don't have a sequential way.
Oh, so like they allow just somebody to submit a PR without an issue or discussion. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yes, I think they do not have any structured way.
Yeah. I think that I mean we've been a lot more unstructured before in the past, and we kind of evolved in this way, largely to deal with all of the issues and PRs that we get from people like Google Summer of Code candidates who are just showing up and don't necessarily really know what it is they're working on. It just so I mean, I think it's a matter of scale. Like on my personal projects, I don't require issues ahead of time, but it's still a good idea most of the time, right? Because I mean, if you come in with an idea, the chances that like after discussion, like it ends up this being the same thing that you originally came up with are quite low. There's probably some tweaks to like, oh, you didn't know about this thing that that I do because I wrote the thing in the first place, and we have to handle this other case, and and sometimes it's just more efficient to do that. And we also want to save you from like going down a wrong path, spending like, oh, I spent a week working on this solution, and it's like, well, that can't work because of this constraint that we have, and then
Right. That we could have said from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I think I got a little bit of knowledge. I even asked while I was searching on a discussion that I posted, like there are 4 stages, right? How we move from this stage to this stage, how we get the insights from where I even got an insight from JSON. So I got to Zod. I asked ChatGPT why Zod is not having a structure and why JSON is having a structure. then right there I got the answer that these two are a little bit different in there, because Zod does not have a lot of uh, really things that actually break there, because it's just making things simpler, but JSON has much more in that.
Yeah, there's a lot less things changing, so they get probably fewer contributions. Yeah, I mean, it's always my approach to start with the least amount of ceremony and structure that you need, and then add it as you feel issues, right? And so maybe they just haven't gotten to that point where they feel like they need more structure. It's just
Yeah, it's also, I guess, not only scale, but capacity as well, right? I mean, you might have a project that is like very well staffed with people that might be working on that project because, they work on it as part of their own company or whatever, like who knows, because the company sponsors. So they have a lot of capacity and they can resist and handle like a lot of potential contributions and discussions. Whereas for projects with like less volunteers and less time, they might add more structure just because otherwise they cannot cope. So it really depends. And I think, tying it back to the previous topic of like trimming down the main org, I think JSON Schema in particular is one that had some major changes, and therefore like people changes, and therefore we don't have a lot of the capacity that we had before, and therefore we're trying to do what we can with the little time we can, which was not necessarily the case before. So it's more of it's a that people problem as well.
I honestly feel like GitHub should just like have like issues before PRs be the default. Like I truly believe every PR should have an issue issued for it.
yeah, almost always, I think, but there are cases where it can make sense to lead with a PR. Sometimes, like the easiest way to explain something is to show the code, and just like putting up a draft PR, just like to quick show the concept, and it's like, hey guys, this makes sense. Like that can be useful.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but like
think
I mean,
always or never. It gets weird. I think I'm a one experience I had as working on a past company. They would impose this rule internally, right? That every PR had to have an issue, and you would like check that whenever you do a contribution. But because a lot of PRs, some PRs at least, they wouldn't warrant an issue. Then what all of the engineering team had is that they had this silly master issue that it was like some dumb name or whatever, and when you didn't want to actually link to an issue, you would link to that one, right? So that the check actually passes, and it would be like like a placeholder issue with whatever, and they would have like thousands of PRs like linked to it, and so people find a way to game the system, and it's sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
that's why I said it should be the default, not the only allowed option.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's also cases where it's like something is so small and so obvious that it's just it's just wasting everybody's time to create an issue out of it. Like if you have a typo in the documentation, like there's not going to be any discussion about how to spell request. All right. It's like if it's spelled wrong, it's spelled wrong, and just fix it. But yeah. So yeah, I agree. It should be the default approach that people take. It's to create an issue first, but there are exceptions. That's why I don't like having these kinds of automation that like checks that you created an issue first. Like, I think it's just like I think we can all be adults and figure out if something needs to be an issue or not. And
well, if any, we know that not everybody's a real adult in the internet. I think it's a bit of a wild west, mainly in open source. But
especially with the AI slope apocalypse.
Yeah. Right. And
Sorry,
so I mean, we can always close, things that, from people who don't have the experience and don't know the right way to do things. And so if it's somebody creates a PR when they shouldn't have created one yet, you can always, close it and tell them to open an issue, and it's not really a big deal. And then they'll learn, hopefully. Yeah, but the issues with is with AIs just generating those PRs without consequence. But I don't changing the policy isn't going to change that really.
That would be a fun, April's joke thing. It's like, like the next JSON schema standard is totally AI generated, right? JSON schema AI. That'll be a fun one. Incorporating all of the feedback from all of the closed issues of the last decade or something like that.
Dude, we actually saw that this weekend. Somebody like auto-generated like 10 issues from random things in the spec repo, and just like, stuff that like we, either like said we weren't going to do, or like or was like in the middle of discussion, or hadn't been fully discussed, and was like, here it is, all the things. So I just had to close them all.
I just thought of a solution for the AI BS that just keeps happening. The 100 PRs a minute thing.
Don't say AI review.
No, no. No. No.
ID checks. Even worse.
No. I was gonna say like a strike/ban system. As in like if you submit this amount of like like
I think GitHub does that, right? I think they can throttle and mark stuff as a spam automatically. I think GitHub has some policies on that already.
But I feel like
and
it
they
should
will
be like
block you.
Yeah, exactly. Like does GitHub actually do this now?
They do. I remember I got like a sudden spike of crazy things to the awesome JSON schema project, and GitHub itself auto-closed everything, mark it as a spam. So
Nice.
got that maybe last month.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. Well, yeah, I've heard of people trying that kind of ban approach, where like if you send something, it's like they do like a no. The one I heard about did like a no. What's it called? Like no chances. Like if you send one sloppy PR, then you're banned for life. But I don't know. I think we can at least give people a warning. Say like, this isn't allowed. If you do it again, well, we won't be. You won't be allowed here anymore. I've been labeling issues for the most part when I remember, with the slop label. So we can always like look back and see if somebody has in the past done the same thing before. So yeah, I'm in favor of banning people who don't learn their lesson, but I would I would prefer to give them a chance.
Yeah, like a lifetime ban for just like one mistake. This is a bit extreme, like
Yeah.
The death sentence for anyone who jaywalks. Like,
yeah.
Like, what's up, man? Why?
Yeah. And it's for the most part, like it's not people who are being, unethical. It's people who don't know any better, right? So give them a chance to learn.
Yeah.
I think the main issue, I guess, is it's not with AI. It's with the context or the not knowing the what the product is. Uh, you know, you want to use AI, but at least if I'm gonna use it, I will make sure that I will, for example, if I'm gonna use it, I'll make sure that the at least the PR or issue which I'm going, it is actually sound. Maybe someone who actually uses AI without actually reading the context might submit something which is not sound and not actually needed for the product or the code. But if you know the code and product, you can use it. And maybe if you're having a doubt, you can just put out the issue, like, I got this, I took the help of AI, and is this issue actually sound, will it help or not? Then the issue can be again
Yeah.
make it into a PR if the maintainer actually accepts it.
And also, I mean, common sense, right? I mean, because, for example, consider the spec and the example that Jason gave of some people creating lots of issues in the spec or like referencing some other ones. For lots of the suggestions that I believe we got on the JSON schema spec, and they are not like that hard to put into the spec, right? In theory, yeah, I mean, just use AI and generate like a new section or like paragraph, and you're covering whatever people want, right? So usually if it is that simple and we haven't done it, it's because of something, right? It's not that we are, we don't have any time or we are lazy or whatever, right? It's like, it's something that is seemingly obvious, has not been done. It's probably because it's not that simple, right? There is complexity behind it that you might not be able to tell.
And
Yeah, I got one of those. Sorry.
think
Yeah,
for
I got one of those issues in my my JSON schema validator repo where somebody had like said, "Oh, this dynamic reference case isn't handled properly," and they didn't even test it. They didn't even try it. Like, I mean, use your common sense. Like, if if an implementation that's been around this long and and it's been used for so many things, like would it really, is it really likely that it's missing this common case? Probably not. Probably not. And they didn't even test it out, see if it was, they didn't even verify that it was a real thing. Just created the issue.
Yeah. I mean, on the flip side, right? I think on the AI aspect, I think JSON schema itself as a technology, right? As an language independent contract language, I think it is what can make the AI actually behave very nicely, right? I think very often, JSON schema is secure in I think a lot of these cases, when if you're working with this kind of stuff, it's like what I just said with the canonicalizer. As soon as I define like a very detailed schema of what a canonical form actually means, you can actually go let the AI go crazy with it, and it will not be able to escape that sandbox, right? And actually do what you want, which is cool. It's like you keep it on a leash using JSON schema itself.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into stuff like that too much yet.
Juan, did anyone contact you from my faculty and stuff, or are people still like looking
Yeah,
into
yeah.
JSON
I
schema?
exchanged a couple of emails with the professor, and
Mm.
I think they would be getting in touch back, I think, when the cycle starts. Also for JSON, for context, that was also something from the office hours, because Ahmed suggested that I think there is like a program within the university that awards credits for like research or more experimental work on a bunch of stuff, and them doing some kind of stuff with JSON schema in exchange of some reasonable mentorship back, which I would be more than happy to do. That would be a fun thing also to get some people to try out all the cool stuff in a GSOC-ish manner, right?
Yeah.
I just want to clarify something. It's not really a research thing. It's more of a like it's a graduation project, okay? Like our graduation projects can potentially be like sponsored, okay? Whether it's by a company or like an open source organization
Yeah.
or whatever, okay?
And they give you credits for it, right? But you can actually use your work for that period, for example, to work on JSON schema. I think that's what I understood.
Well, it's not really like you get the same credit as someone who just does his own thing, but like it's like a much better opportunity, you know, like graduating with like a graduation project that you made is something, and like graduating with like a graduation project from like sponsored by JSON Schema or Siemens or whatever is like it's like a higher like it's more valuable, you know.
Sure.
And like what, yeah, and as I've said, like it's since it's like a technical sponsorship, so I don't think it like I think it aligns well with the JSON Schema, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, JSON, I mean, we wouldn't pay anything more than, a bit of our time, right, to mentor some of these people, and we might be able to get some cool stuff out of it, things like, this JSON schema test suite thing or whatever we can come up with, like GSOC style.
Yeah, exactly.
I would
But-
be happy for mentoring. Yeah.
But like it's important to point out that like this is a graduation project, and it's like at the end of the day they need to have like some software written, okay? So like improving the test cases or something isn't really aligned with the faculty, you know.
Right. Yeah, well,
True.
yeah, we can figure out whatever it is.
Exactly.
Okay, so from this chart, right, I would also like to add that if it has to do with anything for us to sign or to be like this legal entity to do this, then maybe we should have like a broader discussion, because I know most of the things we may not be able to do it directly. We need to go via open collective, and like there is going to be some discussions around this first. So I just want to put it out there that if it involves like an actual signature or
Legal
something
entity.
that feels what's it called legal, then
Yeah.
there's going to be an outside discussion if it is something we can do.
But I don't think it would be required. It's just that these people are doing their graduation project on whatever they choose, and maybe they can choose JSON schema, right? And then we get a benefit in return, but it's all, totally open source stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And
a big call out though. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember I asked my professor specifically about like, are there any things like that or legal actions or stuff? And he said like, he basically said no. He said like, you just need like very, very basic, simple steps to sponsor, you know? So yeah.
Cool.
So how are the proposals looking for GSOC?
I will say that they are better than they were last year. We got
Yeah.
a ton of slop last time, and this was significantly better this year.
Good to hear.
Maybe that means that the AIs are getting better, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we got some very solid proposals, right? There has been discussion all along, but yeah, cool stuff. But yeah, I would say yeah, better than last year.
Hmm.
That was nice.
And I also wanted to ask, like, how exactly does it work? You know, like, do you rank the proposals? Do you just choose one? Like, how exactly does this work? You know, because I remember I heard that something like all of the proposals are ranked, put in one ranking. You know, like all of the proposals for all of the projects are put into one ranking or something, and they're selected based on like how aligned the proposal is with the project, something like that. Like it sounded much more complicated than I felt like it needed to.
It does feel more complicated than it needs to be. But yeah, what we do is we select projects, we rank the projects because we won't necessarily get slots for all of the things that we request. So so we rank our most important projects at the top and not so important ones towards the bottom. And we also go through and then for each project we try to choose the top 3 projects or proposals for each project, and we consider a lot of things, like the proposal. It's obviously one of them. The qualification task, the way that the person interacts with the community, or if they interacted with the community. Like there's one that I got had a great proposal, a great qualification task, but never heard from this person at all in the community the whole rest of the time. So all of these things go into things.
Yeah, right. It's like 10 different, I think, grading criteria that we had, right? Or something
Yeah.
like that.
And like, so like, does the proposal include like four different grading criteria or something, or like, how exactly does that work? Like, what do you mean like 10? Like, how are they distributed or something?
But it's like Jason was saying, right? I mean, some might be, for example, at the proposal itself, but some of the criteria would be, as Jason said, like has these people been active in the community, and do we know about them, and we enjoyed interacting with them, right? On a range, right?
Mm.
To add more color to that, because it's usually
Okay.
a good sign again when we grade people. And not only we have read the proposal, but we actually know who they are, right? We have heard, their voices. We have like had some chats like with you guys now, right?
Mm.
And we remember who you are. It's not like a completely anonymous proposal. It's like, we don't know anything about these people.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like, you've done a PR or 2 for us, and we know how you write code and how you interact with, feedback and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, okay, this is great to hear, because to put it simply, I messed up a bit in the proposal. So it's good to hear that there are other things that could carry me. So thank you.
I thought your proposal was good.
Yeah, thank you. That's very reassuring to hear.
Cool. Well, I think we are. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Do we have any channel like I don't know what channel to join where like for example something is being shared like code or any ideas where apart from do we have any separate channels for each one of you as a mentor?
Separate channels for each project. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm not saying for projects. For example, do you as a mentor or any moderator do you have any separate channels in our JSON schema?
But for what? I'm not trying to follow in the
I'm
actual
not
thing.
no, I'm just asking, do you have any separate channels that you operate for yourself in JSON schema?
Like
What do you mean by
personal or
channels?
like DSC level ones?
I'm not asking. See, I think we have different channels for like GSOC, observability, all of these channels, right? So, like that in JSON schema, do you have any separate channels that you actually operate to actually communicate with other people?
Not that I operate, but I mean, I'm in a lots of Slack groups, right? And like Discord communities. I think you can find me in a lot of places. I'm not sure that's what you asked. Or maybe Jason, you have a better answer.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's like none of these channels I think are like where there's one person or even a couple people who are in charge of monitoring them or whatever. But there's several that that you might be interested in following, just to keep a tabs on what's happening. You might be surprised that implementers is a good channel to follow, even if you're not maintaining a JSON schema implementation yourself, because it's like a place where people will talk about issues that come up, and so it might be a good way to hear about things that like, oh, I didn't I never thought about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's something that you could do, or you could follow. The tests channel, I think was it.
Where can I find those channels?
In Slack, I think you can just like you can do like an add channel or something, and then there's like a whole list of things that are in there.
Yeah, I think there is a way to like browse all of them.
Yeah.
Option to browse channels, and after browsing, you can join anyone that you'd like to join.
Yeah, but we should reduce the number of channels. I think that's another action item. I mean, if you even take a look at the manage channels section, I think there is a non-trivial amount of them that didn't have messages for like at least like the last 30 days or something like that, which might be at least good indicators that this is too much.
Yeah.
I think
There's certainly.
sorry.
I was gonna say there's certainly a lot of them I think that could be removed, just closed down.
Yeah, I think we have like 2 pages of channels. So that doesn't tell me the count,
I
but there
feel
is
like it
a
would be.
lot.
Again, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I feel like a good general like rule of thumb with the channels would be like have an amount that you could be subscribed to all of them, like, or join all of them. So at the moment I believe there are like 20 or something channels, like I feel like this is too much. Just have like 7 or something. We should try to have an amount that would be normal to be like subscribed to all of, I'm not sure if
I don't think it is important to subscribe to all of it. You just have to choose the one that feels important to you. So from what I can see, right, I can see that okay, we can remove the one for GSOC 2024. So I know those ones might not be active again. But like, aside that, most of the channels here might be from prior discussion, and I don't know, maybe the TSC team can have a look at it. But I don't think it is even that much at all.
From my rough count, I think we have over like 60 channels or something like that now.
60?
Yeah. It doesn't tell me then the exact count, but if I quickly scroll through them, it's like something like that.
Yeah,
which is a lot.
I feel like it's a bit more than we need. Just a bit.
Yeah, 58 max.
Or to find the things that are important. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Or at least, I don't know if there is a way to archive them or at least rename them like deprecated hyphen something. So at least we get a sense and we see, and if anybody complains, we can.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm adding that to my action item right away. Okay, we are even almost out of time. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so good action items. I'm gonna be following up on the 2 that I shared, and then see how that goes. we can ride the GSOC momentum, right? To try to get some good test suite improvements.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I'll say goodbye then. See you guys next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.